Welcome to the Narcissist Hunters. I'm Johnny Sage. The reason why I started this was I wanted to create a project that brings attention to narcissistic abuse. The reason why it's so important to me and I was guided in this direction was because I really experienced it as a kid growing up. It was prevalent in my family. My mom's side, still not entirely sure about that, but the father's side definitely had the narcissistic family structure by the book. It was every single label, like golden child, scapegoat, lost child, they were all there. And back when I was experiencing it, this was in the pre-internet and early stages of the internet days. So the information about it wasn't there. I mean, the term narcissist was thrown about, but it was kind of used as a joke, either in like a Disney movie where it was an arrogant French guy with brushing his hair in the mirror and just concerned about his looks. It was more about that, like someone who's just concerned about their looks, rather than all the other traits that are much more harmful and deceiving. So I had this crazy upbringing with a lot of instability and not understanding why. And the natural inclination, if you're experiencing that, is, oh, if I just try harder, that they'll love me more. And now knowing what I do, that's the worst thing you can do for a narcissist, since they take and take. But especially when you're young, you kind of grow fast and you assume the role of an adult early on. It's really messed up and very unhealthy, but that's what happens. Now, thankfully, there's a lot more information out there. About like the past 5 or 6 years, it's really come into the collective. And I'm very grateful for that, because when you experience narcissistic abuse and you don't really know what it is, you just think it's mental illness or it was crazy, or even worse, that it was your fault, it just drives you nuts. But once you come across the traits and you go down the list, your jaw drops. And that's how I learned what it was. Somehow I came across it, and this was around 2015, and I had gone no contact on my own, finally. But it was through a few shorter-lived no contacts, but this was the final one. I somehow came to that conclusion that that was the right thing to do. And then within 6 months, I just came across this thing on the internet, and it was the narcissistic traits. And just going down the list, I just got chills. I was like, this is totally what I was experiencing and what these people were like in my father's side of the family. And then after that, you kind of go down the rabbit hole. Once you see one thing, the temptation is just to go further and further. So over the years, I joined forums, and now it's big on social media and YouTube. So I've just been watching the videos, doing my own research, even reading some of the medical journals on it that some of the posts and other people reference. And it just becomes this whole adventure. And I learned way more about it than I thought that I signed up for. I certainly didn't intend for this to be a full-time thing, but it just kept going. And when in terms of narcissistic abuse, what I've learned is knowledge is power, because that's the thing. When I was experiencing it, why it was so effective and damaging was because I didn't know what was going on. It's unexplainable and unusual to your typical person. There's no rational explanation. When you start to understand the motives behind it, then the light bulb goes off, and it throws you off when you don't know what it is, because it seems like entirely unpredictable behavior. But then after meeting so many of them, and I'll get into that, it's entirely predictable. I mean, yeah, there's certainly different types, but they all go by the same narcissistic playbook. Once you know that, it's really empowering, because you can stop letting them into your life earlier and earlier. And while it's a horrible thing, you can actually make it into a good thing. And I'm not saying the abuse you suffered was good, obviously not, but you can use it as a positive if there's one thing narcissists are good for, it's to show you what you need to heal. Well, they're good for two things. That's to motivate you. Nothing, that kick in the teeth will certainly get you going on what you're supposed to be doing. If you've been putting off any projects or anything like that, you'll move at lightning pace after that, that's for sure. But the main thing is, the first thing, and it usually stems from childhood. I would say that's always the case now. But what you were lacking and what you can give to yourself. Healing from narcissistic abuse can be a long process, and it's certainly not easy regardless. But it is doable, and you can come out of it a bigger, better person, and much stronger for sure. And you always feel horrible right afterwards. And that's the thing, I didn't even know I needed to heal right afterwards because the information wasn't there. Or I should say it was much harder to find. But now that it's there and we know what it is, there's no excuses. And people can get started on their healing journey much faster, which is very important. I really think the sooner the better. There's so much information on the horrors narcissistic abuse can cause. People say it can cause brain damage and all these other things. Because the information was harder to come across when I started my healing journey and before that, that's one of the main motivating factors for me in starting this project. Because the more information that's out there, the more people will catch on and wake up to it and either be able to heal from what's happened to them faster or prevent it in the first place. And that's why, while this is obviously more for the victims of narcissistic abuse, it's in theory not solely. Because I'm even up for narcissists hearing this information. And if they hear something that resonates, then they can hopefully get the help they need. I know it's very, very rare, and they don't do it frequently. Yet if they do, they usually try to manipulate the therapist and all those lovely things. Or if it's couples therapy, turn the therapist against their partner. But every now and then there is a success story. There are self-aware narcissists speaking up now and sharing what they did to heal. And I think that's great. But the one main impetus, it seems like, to get a narcissist to want to heal is for them to hit bottom. That's what a lot of the self-aware ones have shared, for the reason being that they eventually got help, was because they bottomed out. So if regular people stop giving them narcissistic supply, then they'll have no choice but to get help. Right now, there's still too many enablers and people that aren't aware of the games, and they can get supply from flying monkeys, which is another term I'll certainly get into at some point. But for now, people stop participating and are aware of narcissists and the abuses that they're capable of, and they catch on faster and they don't participate, then that's it. They'll go into narcissistic collapse and they'll want to heal. They'll have no choice. They'll have to unlearn all their unhealthy behaviors they picked up. Once you're fresh off being the victim of narcissistic abuse, you can certainly be angry and hold on to a lot of resentment. But you don't want to retaliate, and we'll get into the best ways to handle it when you're fresh off of it, because you really do want to heal and move on. this channel isn't going to be something of a vindictive nature by any means, because it's not to, you don't want to do it out of harm. It's really a good thing for everyone. And hopefully one day the word narcissist will be a thing of the past. And that way no one will have to heal from it. But I really believe that's my mission, is the more people become aware of it, then it ends. If everyone catches on and doesn't participate, that's all you have to do, is just say no. A word narcissists hate. But obviously, the main point isn't to reach narcissists and hope they get help, because that's what happened. I really wanted to empower empaths. That's what I'm really being drawn to do, because it's something that I had to work on. So, and once, that's usually what we're here for when we go through something, and then learn how to heal it, that we can share it with others. As I mentioned, there's certainly a lot of information about narcissists and narcissistic abuse out there now, thankfully. And I'll certainly be covering the basics of it, because you really can't hear it too much. So sometimes it's confusing. So sometimes it takes a little while to sit in, and there's people I could reach that other people speaking about it might not be able to reach. But the main thing that I've dealt with that I truly believe is unique is I've been in the healing and spiritual communities, and there's a lot of narcissists there that you wouldn't think would be. I've encountered all these spiritual narcissists, and both doing the teaching or the healing and coming for it as well. And this doesn't seem like anyone's talking about. And it can really blindside you for sure, because this isn't a place where you would normally think there would be any. But on the contrary, there's a lot. And they're the more insidious ones. And I got blindsided since I thought, if someone wanted to get into healing, they'd have the same intentions as me, that, wow, this thing finally made a difference, and they just want to share this good thing with others. No, it did not happen like that. And I was familiar with the regular overt or grandiose narcissists, that they're the easiest to detect. And that was my first experience with one for sure. But then, even after learning about that, I thought, okay, it explains some of the stuff I went through. And yeah, now I can be aware of them. Little did I know there were other types of narcissists as well. The covert, vulnerable, white knight, communal, and malignant. The list goes on. I'm sure there's even more that haven't even been discovered yet. I hope it's not like that. I hope it's not like one of those scientific things where researchers are always discovering a new strain of a disease buried in a fossil, or a new animal, or a new plant. That's plants and animals, that's all great, but we certainly don't need to discover more types of narcissists. But if we do, I'm going to be the one who wants to be honest, because this is all important information. So still ultimately a good thing that I hope to be bringing. The difference between this project and other things I've worked on is I don't have a strict long-term plan. I have ideas of what I want to do, but this is motivated purely by inspiration. It just feels like the right thing to do. And I'm just letting go and going with the flow. And that's why, if you have any ideas, please always feel free to comment that or reach out in some type of direct message, either by email or regular DM. I'm really interested in hearing it, because with your help, that's going to shape the future of whatever this turns into. I've been thinking about doing some group sessions together, and maybe at some point implement some of the healing modalities that I've learned along the way that have helped me. But that's all up in the air. Right now, I'm just going to get the information I know out there. So that's the first order of business. I feel really good about doing this, and I know that's an odd thing to say to get excited talking about narcissists. I'm at that stage, though, where I can, now that I'm much farther removed from any direct contact. I'm sure I'll certainly encounter them out there. There seems to be an awful lot, which is another reason why it's good to learn all this. But yeah, if I pass on my knowledge, hopefully you'll be able to identify them sooner. And it can not only help you, but you'll be helping others too, whether you do it directly or even indirectly. Because narcissists don't take responsibility. They seem to just go from victim to victim without making any changes. They avoid transformation like the plague. And when I was growing up, I felt very isolated. Isolation is a tactic that narcissists use. And if you've grown up or are part of a toxic family structure, even though like the toxic family members don't like each other, they'll stick together and they'll fight off any change to that toxic family structure. And it'll look like they're united. They're not, because they hate each other and they'll do awful things to each other when the threat is warded off. But while it's going on, they'll just really they'll unite on the healthy person or anything that tries to bring attention to what's really going on. And even if usually it's like they have good intentions, but they'll make you think that you don't. And that's why it can be really do a number on your mental health. Because I thought I was the crazy one. Even logically, when I was a kid, I knew I was moral. I knew I had good intentions. But at the same time, I would question, why is everyone else acting like this? If everyone else is on the same page, can I be right? And I'm the young one. These are intelligent people. Surely there must be something wrong with me because I'm young and they have all this worldly knowledge, are smart people, and have the experience of age. Well, once you learn about narcissism, you start knowing much better. So I want all those people that have felt all alone at times to know you're not alone. There's a lot of people who've gone through this, are currently going through this, and will continue to go through this until all this knowledge is out there and people say it's enough. Thanks for tuning in today. I'm going to come back with a whole lot of content, and I have different ideas about the formats. I'll do some short form and some long form, and seeing what helps you the most. So please feel free to let me know. And the one other thing that thankfully I came across a thread on this healing journey about between 5 and 6 years ago. And about technically around 5, but around 3 years ago is when we really started talking about narcissists together, because she's also a healer and spiritual person. And we learned about the not so obvious types, like I was saying before, the covert and the vulnerable narcissist. And she wants to come on and share some information. I don't know exactly yet what capacity she'll be on, whether she will do podcasts together, I'll interview her, or she'll just submit material. But whatever it is, she's also a great resource of information, and she has some really good stories to share. So I'm excited for her to come on as well. In the meantime, please like, follow, and subscribe, whatever medium you're tuning in on. Please let us know how we can help. If there's any specific topics you want me to cover, if there's any services I could offer, I'm open to any ideas, especially when this is first starting out. Because as I was saying, this is more unusual for me than what I tend to do. I mean, I'm all about letting go and just letting the universe take over, but this is the most I've done that in the highest capacity. So this is, I have to admit, even a stretch for me, but it'll be good. It's just I have one of those feelings that this is what's needed. I didn't learn or all this information and encounter so many different types of narcissists for nothing. And like I said, I'm at the point now, while, you know, it can certainly sting a lot when you first get burned by them, now it's at a point where, okay, all the bad stuff happened. How can I make this a good thing, transform it into a benefit for other people? That way, everything I went through or experienced, it wasn't for nothing. Until then, I'm just going to be putting all the information I've learned out there and sharing my stories. And I hope this helps. All right, let's see where this goes.